There's something special about London. No, not the iconic sights, the fancy restaurants and shops, or the royalty and grandeur, but away from that. The communities that are relentlessly creating professional footballers. London has always fostered incredible players, but recently released data crowned it as the best city in the world at producing footballers. England's capital is home to players with the highest combined market value of any city in the world, £1.4 billion. So how is London overshadowing Sao Paulo's favelas and Paris's suburbs? What makes its people so special? How's London become the world's best footballer factory? Whilst London is predominantly viewed through a lens of wealth, luxury and splendour, there's a darker side to England's capital that's not so widely acknowledged or shown. A quarter of Londoners live in poverty. Out of a population just shy of 9 million, that's 2.3 million people living without basics like food and toiletries. To outsiders not living in the city, the number comes as a shock. London is widely regarded as a place of opportunity, not adversity. But if you live and breathe the city air, it's obvious. There's also the threat of crime. In 2023, there were 105 crimes per 1,000 people. That's 31% worse than the UK average. Being a kid, living in an urban jungle, surrounded by the threat of poverty and crime, is an extraordinary way of growing up. But I think it's key as to why the city breeds such extraordinary talents. For example, Jadon Sancho has spoken about how hard his mum worked, just so he could eat and wash, just so he could survive. Raheem Sterling, who wasn't born in the capital but grew up there, has shared how he didn't have anything as a child. We've all heard stories of how psychologically challenging football can be, especially in academies at a young age. It can be brutal. But when you've been exposed to the dark corners of society so early on in your life, trials, performing in big games, facing setbacks, making your debut is almost insignificant. When your environment forces you to fear the worst at a young age, you become fearless to everything else. Even during a player's career, being mentally strong can determine whether you become a star or fade away.
Saka has to score. It's saved by Donnarumma, and it's Italy who are the champions of Europe.
Bukayo Saka faced a tsunami of racism following his penalty miss in the Euro 2020 final. I'm confident that a huge part of the reason why he was able to bounce back from such a low, face and stand up to such disgusting abuse, and go on to become one of the world's best forwards, is because of the challenges London tested him with as a child. Additionally, it's not just footballers that the capital seems to produce. You only have to glance at the top of the charts or red carpets to see London's rags to riches stories. The city religiously churns out stars, and it's no coincidence. Of course, with all the threats that London possesses, it can easily go the other way. For every success story, there's probably thousands of unheard tragedies. It must be a terrifying fine line that young Londoners have to tread. But seeing your parents' work ethic, their commitment to providing for you, whilst also seeing violence and crime, all at a young age, humbles you. It evidently makes you stronger than most. There's an unbreakable resilience that is forged through London's disadvantage. When you don't have much, your chances to be successful can be restricted in London. But when it comes to football, the opportunities are endless. In the city, football is a way of escaping, literally and figuratively. No matter where you live in the capital, a place to play the game is never far away. If you have to commute to a pitch, London and its 32 boroughs are connected through its extensive web of public transport. The Underground, the Overground, the DLR, buses, trams, black cabs. London boasts arguably the best public transport of any city in the world. But whilst the capital is home to around 1,500 playing fields, most of its pro footballers refine their talents on concrete, not grass. Eberechi Eze, Mikel Antonio, Jadon Sancho and Callum Hudson-Odoi, as well as ex-pros like Rio Ferdinand, all played cage football in London at a young age. Primarily situated in the heart of communities, typically in the centre of council estates, most young Londoners who love the game play in the cage. Looking back on the poverty that exists within the city, playing football, especially in the local cage, is as cheap a sport to play as any. You just need a ball. Due to frequently playing against older kids who were more physically developed, many pros that were defined in London's cages had to quickly learn to be tough, physically and mentally, and to be skillful. It's again another example of where a Londoner's strong resilience is formed.
The resilience that you get playing with older boys as well. It builds something in you that you're not going to get anywhere else, I don't think.
From the cages, many of the London players that now dominate our screens moved to Sunday League. As you can imagine, the skills they've learnt on the concrete translate with ease to the grass. Places like Hackney Marshes have become almost a rite of passage for Londoners looking to make it as a professional. For nearly 80 years, the capital's playing fields have become a breeding ground for footballers. This is common knowledge in the industry, hence why scouts use these locations as hotspots to find potential stars. London is home to 16 professional football clubs, more than any other city in the world. Because of this, if you're good, you'll be seen. What it also means is that if you fail at one academy, there's several others you can try your luck at. For example, Eze was released by Arsenal, Fulham, Reading and Millwall before finally getting his breakthrough at QPR. From the concrete and metal cages to Hackney Marshes to the bright lights of the Premier League, all connected for its vast transport system, London is a perilous spider's web of football opportunity. The majority of footballers I've highlighted are ethnically diverse. Whilst these players were born in London, they may only be partially English or not English at all. One of London's greatest strengths is its vibrant cosmopolitan culture. 46% of its population are black and minority ethnic, compared to just 14% of England as a whole. The reason for this? Well, to uncover the answer, we need to look back. From its inception, London has been a melting pot shaped by other nations. The city was founded in 47 AD by the Romans, with its main purpose to be a commercial port. As a result, over the subsequent centuries, London emerged as a thriving hub for trade as merchants and tourists passed through. However, most never stayed for good. Only the elite could permanently relocate to the capital. It wasn't until recently, in the late 20th century, that London started to welcome large waves of immigrants from across the world. The British Nationality Act and later membership to the EU allowed people from Africa, Asia and Europe to migrate freely to the capital in search of work and a better life. Because of this, the proportion of people in the city who claim to be white British has shrunk from an estimated 87% in 1971 to 37% in 2021, a 50% decrease in 50 years. Now London's permanent population is culturally, ethnically and religiously diverse. What I'm trying to illustrate is London doesn't just represent English people. It's not just England's capital. It's a home away from home for many communities and cultures. It isn't just one city for one nation. It's one city for hundreds. However, even when taking all the factors I've raised into consideration, when you think about it, there are cities full of poverty and crime and therefore strong, resilient people. There are cities that provide young aspiring footballers opportunities to train and refine their talent. There are cosmopolitan cities that have vibrant, diverse cultures. So why is London the best city in the world at producing footballers? Well, despite there being many cities who share these factors, none of them have these three elements mixed together. But London does. It has resilient, diverse people who use their environment to maximise their talent, even when there might not be much to work with. That's what makes England's capital and its population so special. That's why London is the world's best footballer factory.